This is gonna be long, isn't it? I didn't need to be called out like that. Hello my bookworms, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sydney and welcome back to another book haul. This one was an accident, okay? It wasn't planned. It just like slowly kept happening. After my last book haul, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna do one of these for a while. I need to stop. But here we are. But hey, how are ya? Hope you're doing well. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for a little bit. If you are new here, please do consider subscribing down below. I put out new content every week at a very irregular schedule because you can't expect much of me, but I'd love to have you around. So this book haul, a good chunk of them, at least 8, I believe, are from a independent bookstore in Grand Rapids, Michigan called Books and Mortar. I had a really tough week at work last week, so Caleb and I decided to take a little road trip up to Grand Rapids and just kind of get out of the hometown. I really needed a mental break, so we decided to just go spend time together, alone without the dog and the cat. And of course we hit up the local bookstore. So we're gonna start with those books because I am debatably most excited about them. Maybe because they're the most recent ones I bought, but also like there's some really good titles in here. And it's always a great feeling when the person at checkout looks at the stack that you're buying and they're like, you got some really good ones in here. And I'm like, I know. So this first one that I got, I recognized the cover like in my subconscious from somewhere. And then I saw the author's name and I was like, oh my God, I know who that is. And it is Her Body and Other Parties by Carmen Maria Machado. And this is basically like 8 different stories in this one little book. And I am just so excited to read it. The back says, in her electrifying debut, Machado blithely demolishes the borders between psychological realism and science fiction, comedy and horror, fantasy and fabulism. Here are 8 startling stories that map the realities of women's lives and the violence visited upon their bodies. Earthy and otherworldly, antic and sexy, queer and caustic, comic and deadly serious, Her Body and Other Parties enlarges the possibilities of contemporary fiction. I'm obsessed. I think this sounds amazing. I love this cover. I just think it's really, really pretty. And yeah, so this is book 1. I'm really excited about it. Let's move on to book 2. Book 2, okay, this one I actually like went in wondering if they were gonna have it because I've wanted a book by this author for a very long time. And I was so excited to see it sitting on the shelf. So it is Bad Feminist by Roxane Gay. And this is another collection of like essays. Come here. Let me just tuck in Avi really quick. Hold on. Here we go. All ready for a nap? You good girl. So in these essays by Roxane Gay, it takes us on a journey through her evolution as a woman of color while also taking readers on a ride through feminism today. Bad Feminism is a sharp, funny, and spot-on look at the ways in which the culture we consume becomes who we are, an inspiring call to arms of all ways that we need to do better. And I just really wanted to read this book. I am very excited about it. I'm excited to expand my collection of like short stories or like essay written style books, and this was a really good one. And I was just so excited to see it sitting there. So Bad Feminist. The next book that I got, I was very excited to see out in the wild as well. If you're on Bookstagram, then you probably have seen the little infographics that have been going around to help support the Asian community, which, by the way, I do have a link down in my description on resources and information on how you can help support them as well. So please do check that out. But this book was on many of those infographics of like support Asian writers, support Asian stories, and that book is Pachinko by Min Jin Lee. Another just really beautiful cover, and I really liked the thickness of this book. I thought it was like a really nice size. It just feels nice in my hand, you know, it has a great flop. And yeah, so this book actually says Roxane Gay's favorite book of the year. So that was cool too. I saw that when I turned it over in the store and I was like, oh, we all know I love a good quote. So the quote on the back of this book says, "There could only be a few winners and a lot of losers, and yet we played on because we had hope that we might be the lucky ones." Richly told and profoundly moving, Pachinko is a story of love, sacrifice, ambition, and loyalty. From the bustling street markets to the halls of Japan's finest universities to the pachinko parlors of the criminal underworld, Lee's complex and passionate characters, strong, stubborn women, devoted sisters and sons, fathers shaken by moral crisis, survive and thrive against the indifferent arc of history. This sounds like something that I'm really going to enjoy because I really love stories that you really get to know the characters, kind of like a slow burn-esque thing. And like this just, it really sounds like I'm going to have a good time reading it. So I'm super excited about this one. And yeah, that's it. Here it is. This next book, I don't don't exactly know why I got it. I mean, I do know exactly why I got it. It's because of the title and the cover. I honestly, I couldn't leave without it. It's called Breasts and Eggs, a novel by Miko Kawakami. And just look at it, okay? Just like, look at that beautiful pink. Look at that. Oh, it's just very like aesthetically beautiful. And I couldn't leave it there. I couldn't. Ooh, I didn't even know this, but Haruki Murakami has a blurb on the back that says, "I can never forget the sense of pure astonishment I felt when I first read Miko Kawakami's Breasts and Eggs." So that's promising. And this cover is just so pretty. I just love it. Since I bought it purely because of the title and the cover, I don't know anything really about it, but it basically says, Breasts and Eggs recounts the intimate journeys of 3 women on the path of finding peace and futures they can call their own. And it seems like we're following just these 3 different women and how they have been reunited in the working class neighborhood of Tokyo. And we're really getting just an in-depth look on each one of these women's lives, the struggles that they're facing. And I'm interested to see how it plays out. I'm interested to see like what exactly is going on and how these 3 women are like together and relate to each other. So yeah, this sounds like another one that I would really like since we will get to know the characters very well. So I'm excited about it. I love it. It's so pretty. All right, this next one, I kind of squealed a little bit when I saw it. I don't know, this bookstore just literally had so many books that I have wanted. And I don't think any of them are fantasy. Wow, look at me. Maybe one of them. I don't know yet. We'll see when we get there. But I believe that I saw this book on Noelle's channel. I think I'm correct when I say it's one of her favorite books, or at least one that she has really, really enjoyed. And if you watched my vlog where I read Noelle's favorite books, I'll leave the link in the description below. I loved every single book that I read that were also her favorites. So I have high hopes for this book, not only because of that, but because of the substance that is within the book. That is Writers and Lovers by Lily King. Another just gorgeous cover. It's just so stunning. I don't know. It's beautiful. And the synopsis is quick, so I'm just gonna read through it really quick. It says, blindsided by her mother's sudden death and wrecked by a recent love affair, 31-year-old Casey has arrived in Cambridge, Massachusetts, without a plan beyond a determination to live a creative life. Written with King's trademark humor, heart, and intelligence, this is a transfixing novel that explores artistic passion, ambition, and the terrifying and exhilarating leap between the end of one phase of life and the beginning of another. That just sounds really, really beautiful, and sounds like it has a lot of potential to like make me feel a lot of things. So I'm very much looking forward to this. And this book just, I feel like it belongs like sitting on a shelf like this. It's like a piece of art, honestly. It's just really pretty. But yeah, Writers and Lovers. The next book I got from this little independent bookstore was Clara and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro. I've seen this cover like floating around the book like universe, and I have just been super attracted to it because of the hand. I really love hand imagery and things like that, so when I saw this again sitting on the table at this bookstore, I couldn't leave it there. I had to pick it up. But I did read the synopsis in the bookstore, and it does sound super interesting, so I'm excited about it. From her place in the store, Clara, an artificial friend with outstanding observational qualities, watches carefully the behavior of those who come in to browse and those who pass in the street outside. She remains hopeful a customer will soon choose her, but when the possibility emerges that her circumstances may change forever, Clara is warned not to invest too much in the promises of humans. It's just super intriguing, like an artificial friend, so obviously there's like some sort of sci-fi aspect to it, but it also seems very human as well. And I'm just like really intrigued as to like what the story is going to do. You know what I mean? And I just like, look at the little hand on the side of the book. It's just so pretty. Look at that. Ugh, it's beautiful. Okay. All right, we have one more book from the independent bookstore, and I think that this one actually does count as fantasy, at least a little bit. But I did good. Like, I'm expanding my repertoire of things. So this last book is Piranesi by Susanna Clark. And I know that this was an option for a book of the month in the past couple months, I believe. And I wasn't super attracted to it because the cover makes it look like it has like some like Greek myth style stuff with it. And at the time I wasn't really sure if I would enjoy it. So I didn't even like look into it. But then I recently just read The Song of Achilles and really liked it. So now I'm like super into Greek myth retellings at the moment. And again, I don't know if this has that. This is just like, it gave me the vibes. Because look, doesn't it look like it could have some sort of Greek myth aspect to it? Probably, maybe. I don't know. Let's see. So I'm gonna say it definitely isn't Greek myth retelling, which is fine. However, it does say fans of Madeline Miller's Circe would probably enjoy this, so I think we're on the same page, sort of. But this synopsis sounds actually pretty crazy. It says, Piranesi's home is no ordinary building. Its rooms are infinite, its corridors endless, its walls are lined with thousands upon thousands of statues, each one different from all the others. Within the labyrinth of halls, an ocean is imprisoned. Waves thunder up staircases, rooms are flooded in an instant. But Piranesi is not afraid. He understands the tides as he understands the pattern of the labyrinth itself. He lives to explore the house. There is one other person in the house, a man called the Other, who visits Piranesi twice a week and asks for help with research into a great and secret knowledge. But as Piranesi explores, evidence emerges of another person, and a terrible truth begins to unravel, revealing a world beyond the one Piranesi has always known. I am super into the idea of how that house was just described. I think that sounds really up my alley in a way of like how strange and just infinite and possibly weird that this book could be. So I think that sounds awesome. I'm super excited about it. The last thing I got from the bookstore, which isn't a book, it's just this little pin, and it says, booked for the weekend with a pair of legs outside of the book, and I just thought it was really cute, so I had to pick it up. It was at checkout. They always do that to you. They're like, hey, what about these? And I'm like, okay. All right, so now we are moving into just like books that I've bought recently. A couple of them are gifted. I will tell you which ones, but most of them were not. They came from my own pockets. These 3 books, I'm gonna like mention all at first, but then we'll go through each one of them. I'm pretty sure that these 3 books are like all of the books that this author has out right now, and I'm equally obsessed with each of the covers. And all of these books are by Mary H.K. Choi, and it is Permanent Record, Emergency Contact, and Yoke. First one, we'll just talk about Permanent Record really quick. This cover is just really, really pretty, really stunning. And in this story, we follow 2 main characters, Pablo as well as Leanna. And Pablo is technically a college dropout who is working the graveyard shift at a local 24-hour deli in Brooklyn. And then Leanna is basically just a celebrity. She's been in the industry, I guess, since she was a child. And now that she's an adult, her life consists of like private jets, hotel rooms, and people trying to scam her just so that she'll notice them. When Leanna and Pablo meet at 5 a.m. at the bodega in the dead of winter, it's absurd to think that they'd be a thing. But as they discover who they are and who they want to be and how to defy the expectations of everyone else, Lee and Pab turn to each other, which of course is when things get properly complicated. Normally, I would say that I wouldn't be super into a book with like celebrity aspects to it, but everything else makes me super excited to read this because it sounds kind of like a low-key romance that I'm here for. I don't know. The next one was Emergency Contact, and this again, this cover is just stunning. I love the pale pink. I love the dude with tattoos. They're both like, I don't know, it's just very aesthetic, you know? In this book, we follow Penny and Sam. And for Penny, high school was kind of like a non-event. Not a lot of things happened. She just kind of like floated through it. And now she is moving to Austin, Texas to learn how to become a writer. And I just really love how Sam's portion of the story is worded, so I just want to read it because I just really like it. It says, Sam's stuck, literally, figuratively, emotionally, and financially. He works at a cafe and sleeps there too, on a mattress on the floor of an empty storage room upstairs. He knows that this is the god-awful chapter of his life that will serve as inspiration when he's a famous movie director. But right this second, the $17 in his checking account and his dying laptop are really testing him. When Sam and Penny cross paths, it's less meet cute and more collision of unbearable awkwardness. Still, they swap numbers and stay in touch via text, and soon become digitally inseparable, sharing their deepest anxieties and secret dreams without the humiliating weirdness of having to, you know, see each other. And I really like when stories have like almost like the alternate format for like texting where it's kind of just like broken up throughout the page while also having like a lot of normal dialogue and paragraph-esque whatever, you know, as well. I feel like I've heard that this book had a lot of mixed reviews on it. I might be mistaken, but I think it sounds really good. And plus, again, it's just really beautiful. I hate when people put stickers on the front of books. It should be a sin. Don't do it. I don't care if it's the book club pick of the month. Just tell me. Don't ruin the cover. Got it. And then we have Yoke by Mary H.K. Choi. And we need to have a moment to look at this cover as well, because here's this, right? And then the hands are on the edges, people. They're on the edges. Look at that. I can't handle it. I love that. This book sounds a lot more serious than I originally anticipated. Sounds like it's probably gonna make me cry. So it says, Jane and June are nothing alike. June is 3 years older, a classic firstborn narc with a vile finance job in a soulless apartment, according to Jane. Jane, on the other hand, is an emotionally stunted, self-obsessed crybaby who lives in squalor, has egregious taste in men, and needs to get her ass to class. Said in June's words. Once thick as thieves, these sisters who moved from Seoul to San Antonio and finally New York don't want anything to do with each other. Until June gets cancer and Jane becomes the only one who can help her. Flung together by sickness and bound by family secrets, will the sisters learn more about themselves and each other than they're willing to confront? So again, this sounds like it has the potential of making me feel a lot of things. I am, again, just obsessed with this cover and this little hand sprayed action. It's not even sprayed, it's printed. You can see those little black lines, you see? It's like forming the picture of the hands. It's brilliant. I love it. But yeah, another beautiful, beautiful sounding book, and I'm excited to get to it. The next one, Rule of Wolves by Leigh Bardugo. I got the special Illumicrate edition. Was it Illumicrate? I think it was. And it's just so stunning. One of my trademark quotes. I will say it whenever it applies. I'm a hoe for sprayed edges. They're just so pretty. I love both of these books for different things. So like obviously I love the sprayed edges, and I love that this cover, like they're very similar, but this cover is like more metallic and silver, and it has more depth to like the roots. But the interior of this book has this really pretty like marble, and the cover is a different, like it's maroon with silver plating, while this one, like we saw, is white with red. Like both of them are stunning, okay? But this is the sequel to King of Scars, which is not there. It's downstairs probably because I read it this month. Oh, it's sitting right here actually. It's under a big stack of books though. I'm not grabbing it. But it's the sequel to King of Scars, and I liked King of Scars a lot more than I originally thought that I would. And the ending of King of Scars actually left me pretty shook, so I want to get to this soon, but I want to get to so many books soon, so we'll see when it actually happens. And I just really love being in the Grishaverse with all of these characters, and that's it. I'm excited about it. Let's just stay on the sprayed edges kick really quick, so that I don't have to like say it again. But like I said earlier, I'm starting to really enjoy Greek myth retellings, and fun fact, I actually got this book as an ARC before I even knew that it was going to be such a big deal, so I didn't even like talk about it, nor did I prioritize it in my reading because I'm dumb. I don't know. What do you want from me? Obviously the book is out now, and it has a special edition of it, which I got off eBay, which, guys, by the way, if you are buying special edition of books and then selling it online for double or triple the amount of what it actually is worth, shame on you. Anyways, the book that I bought off eBay, which was definitely more expensive than how it was originally cost, but I talked the guy down to a reasonable amount. And the book is Lore by Alexandra Bracken, and I'm really kicking myself for not reading it as an ARC before it came out, because I don't know, I got it in December of 2020. It was a really stressful time, you know, like holidays with COVID, me being a nurse, like it was a lot. So I didn't really read much anyways. I digress. This book though, look at the spine, but wait, are you ready for the sprayed edges? Oh, they're so pretty. I'm definitely putting it on my shelf like this once I get more shelves. Also stunning yellow interior. It's just really pretty. And this is basically like a more contemporary urban retelling of Medusa, I think. I mean, I'm guessing it's Medusa because, I mean, that's Medusa, right? But apparently there's some sort of game that is being played called the Agon. And every 7 years, for 1 week only, Zeus punishes the gods by forcing them to walk the earth as mortals. And each of them are being savagely hunted by the descendants of ancient bloodlines, all eager to kill a god and seize their divine power and immortality. And after her family was brutally murdered by a rival line, Lore Perseus fled, turning her back on the Agon's cruel promises of eternal glory. For years, Lore has honored her parents' memory by doing one thing: surviving. For years, she has pushed away dark thoughts of revenge until now. And the quote on the side of the book says, "The games have begun and she's playing for her life." The synopsis hints at like some new god that can't be trusted who wants to destroy all of humanity, and then some alliances are going on, and there's like a feminist twist in the story apparently, so I'm all about it. I think it sounds pretty cool, and I'm just like absolutely obsessed with these sprayed edges. Do we even need to say it anymore? Probably not. The next book that I got is In an Absent Dream by Shauna Maguire. This is the next book in the Wayward Children series. And I love this. I love this series. I think that's awesome. It's super fun. They're always a super quick, interesting read. Sean McGuire is just a magician. I think that her writing is absolutely amazing. Each book in this series is a standalone. You don't have to read one in order to understand another, though there are Easter eggs within other books. If you read them all, you know, you'll catch them. But in this series, you follow a child or a set of children in each book who find these doorways to their home. It's a place that they feel most safe and that they resonate most with. However, these children have somehow gotten kicked out of their homes and have wound up back in the real world. Their parents don't really know what to do with them, so they have sent them to Eleanor West's Home for Wayward Children, where these children are living and trying to find their doorways back to their home. The next book that I got, which I have wanted for probably like 5 months now, but I just don't really like the US cover, so I have been waiting until Book Depository had the UK cover in stock, and it finally did, so now I have it, and it is The Space Between Worlds by Micah Johnson. It is just a really, really beautiful cover, and the catchphrase on the back says, "Of the 380 realities that have been unlocked, Kara is dead in all but 8. So obviously this book is a sci-fi with some like multi-dimensional, multiple timeline reality thing going on. And I think that is super interesting in like real life. I love having those discussions, especially with Caleb. We really like to theorize and things like that. So I think that this book sounds really interesting, and I'm super excited to see what it holds. Oh my god, there's so many. The next 2 books that I got are just books 2 and 3 in a series called the Annihilation series. It's actually, I think it's the Southern Reach trilogy. Oh yeah, the Southern Reach trilogy, but book 1 is called Annihilation, and the second one is called Authority, and then the third one is called Acceptance. And I love these covers. I think that they're super cool. And basically, Annihilation, it is about a group of 4 women who are sent on an expedition into Area X, which has been cut off from the rest of humanity due to all of these strange happenings and, like, basically death that has happened there. All the other expeditions that have been sent into collect data on Area X have all died in mysterious circumstances. And in Annihilation, it is the 12th expedition into Area X, in which we follow 4 women, and they are to map the terrain, record all observations of the surroundings and of one another, and above all, avoid being contaminated by Area X. And it sounds super interesting. Caleb thinks that I'm really gonna like it, and I'm really looking forward to it. Now we have books 2 and 3, so I'm like really not center. Why am I just now realizing this? Let's do that, shall we? Oh, that's a little bit better. The next book that I got, which I actually chose for my book of the month pick for this past month, it is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. And that's really rude. The bookmark that is inside says Mark is unread. That's all of my books ever. I didn't need to be called out like that. This story is basically about Poppy and Alex, who really, they don't have anything in common, but somehow they have become best friends, and every year for the last decade they have met up and gone on a summer vacation together, until 2 years ago when they ruined everything and they haven't spoken since. However, Poppy reaches out to Alex and convinces him to go on one last vacation together to lay everything on the table and make it right. Now she has a week to fix everything. If only she can get around the one big truth that has always stood quietly in the middle of their seemingly perfect friendship. What could possibly go wrong? I really like this setup. I think it sounds like something that I should enjoy. They're kind of setting it up like it's like some friends to enemies to lovers. Maybe not enemies, but like not friends. And I don't know, I think it sounds really fun. I'm very much looking forward to it and dipping my toe further into the romance genre. The next book I got it purely because it was in one of Noelle's most recent reading vlogs, and that is The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna. And I'm like pretty sure that this is a historical fiction book, which I don't read much of like historical anything. So I'm excited to try it out and see if it's something that I would enjoy. It says The Four Winds is about a powerful American epic about love and heroism and hope set in the Great Depression, a time when the country was in crisis, when millions were out of work and even the land seemed to have turned against them. And the little quote that it says, "My land tells a story if you listen, the story of our family." And the way that just gave me chills, like, am I a baby? Probably. Okay, like, this sounds even more interesting than I was expecting. Do I just buy things because other people like them and I don't even know if I will? Maybe, obviously. But this sounds like, again, something that's gonna make me feel things, and like we're really gonna get to know this family, their story from the beginning, and all of the hardships that are coming along with being alive and being trying to make it through a time like the Great Depression. And it sounds like there's going to be a lot of really hard decisions that this family's going to have to make. So I think that it should affect me, and I am excited to read it. The next two things that I'm going to talk about, my mom actually bought for me, so shout out Mom. She had asked my opinion on what book I thought that she should read, and by the way, I gave her No Exit by Taylor Adams because I think that she would really like it. She likes thrillers and things like that, so I gave her that book to read. And when she was ordering that book, she asked if I wanted any, and I was like, of course I do. So she ended up ordering for me The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. And basically this is about our main character Nora, but more importantly about our setting, which is the Midnight Library. Each book in the Midnight Library can enable Nora to live as if she had done things differently. Each book contains a different life, a possible world in which she made different choices that played out in an infinite number of ways, affecting everyone she knew as well as many people she never met. With the help of an old friend, she can now undo every decision she regrets as she tries to work out her perfect life. But things aren't always what she imagined they'd be, and as soon as her choices place the library and herself in extreme danger. Before time runs out, she must answer the ultimate question: what is the best way to live? This book obviously has one of the age-old questions of, if you could have done something different, would you have? What do you think your life would be like if you never did this, this, or this? But this book will follow the journey in which we figure out what it would be like if you are able to change the course of your life from going back in time. And would your life really be what you would want it to be? I don't know, probably not, but we're gonna read about it. The other books that my mom got me are actually a box set, so it's the first 3 books in this series, which is the Expanse series. So we have Leviathan Wakes, Caliban's War, and Abaddon's Gate by James S.A. Corey. And this is a sci-fi series that is quoted as being the best space opera to date. Camera's about to die, so let me change the battery. But anyways, the Expanse series, first book is Leviathan Wakes, and basically kind of, okay, in this series, the universe has been colonized by humans, so there is life on like Mars and everywhere else. And our main character is a miner in one of the asteroid belts. And while he's there, he finds this like something that he never really wanted to find. And now he and his friends are kind of thrown into this situation where war is basically about to happen. And like I said, it's like a big space opera that is very, very well regarded, well rated, and I'm very excited. I haven't really read a space opera-esque book since I read Illuminae over a year ago, and I love that series so much, so I should probably prioritize this. Like, I think that I would really enjoy it, and I am looking forward to it. These 3 were gifted to me by Molly over at Mind of Molly, and it was completely out of the blue. I don't really even remember why they did this, but they did because they're amazing. This first book I put on my wish list because Kayla from Books and Lala really liked it, and it is The First Time She Drowned by Carrie Clutter. And this book says, it's been 2.5 years since Cassie's mother dumped her in a mental institution against her will. Now at 18, Cassie's finally able to reclaim her life and enter the world and college on her own terms. But it's poor consolation for a lifetime of psychological damage. Now, swimming in family memories and trying to adapt to her new surroundings, Cassie? What have I been saying? I think it's Cassie. Cassie sees how difficult it is to cut the tethers of a tumultuous past. And when the unhealthy mother-daughter relationship that defined Cassie's childhood and adolescence threatens to pull her under, Cassie must decide whose version of history is real, and can she let what happened resurface without drowning in it? This sounds like a really heavy book, and one that I can just tell that it's up my alley, which is why I put it on my wish list. Because things like this with like mental illness, it's really sometimes hard to read about, but it's also stories that I end up really, really enjoying as long as it's done well. And if Kayla really likes it, then I think that I have a good shot of saying that it's probably done well. So that makes me even more excited for this one. The next book that I got from Molly is Love and Luck by Jenna Evans Welch. This is a sequel, but I think it's kind of like it's standalone. It's just by the same author that wrote, thought it was Behind Me, but I don't think it is, Love and Gelato. And Love and Gelato was a book that I didn't think that I would really read ever, but I read it and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a blast. So it was super, super surprising, and I actually had Molly read Love and Gelato, and they really liked it as well, so they sent me the sequel. This one says, Addie is visiting Ireland for her aunt's over-the-top destination wedding and hoping she can stop thinking about the one horrible thing that left her miserable and heartbroken. But her brother Ian isn't about to let her forget. But when Addie discovers an unusual guidebook, Ireland for the Heartbroken, Hidden in the dusty shelves of the hotel library, she's finally able to escape her anxious mind and Ian's criticism. And then their travel plans change. Suddenly, Addie finds herself on a whirlwind tour of the Emerald Isle, trapped in the world's smallest vehicle, with Ian and his admittedly cute Irish-accented friend Rowan. As the trio journeys over the breathtaking green hills, past countless castles, and through a number of fairy tale forests, Addie hopes her guidebook will heal not only her broken heart, but also her shattered relationship with her brother. That is, if they don't get completely lost along the way. When I read Love and Gelato, I just remember Jenna Evans Welch's writing to be very accessible, very easy to get through. I read it very, very quickly, and I just really liked how she wrote the story. So I'm excited to have this as an option to read, and I think it sounds pretty cute. The last book. We're on the last book, people. This one also gifted to me by Molly. Thank you, by the way. I love you so much. You're amazing. But it is Vengeful by V.E. Schwab. This is the sequel to Vicious by V.E. Schwab, so I don't want to read the back because spoilers, and I still haven't read Vicious. Let me grab it. Vengeful is the sequel to Vicious. But okay, so Vicious is about Victor and Eli, who started out as college roommates, brilliant, arrogant, lonely boys who recognize the same sharpness and ambition in each other. And in their senior year, they're basically paired up to do this research project in which they discover that under the right circumstances and conditions, someone could develop extraordinary abilities. But when their thesis moves from academic to experimental, things go horribly wrong. And I just really love V.E. Schwab's writing. I know that I will enjoy this series. It sounds super interesting. And yeah, I'm super excited to have the sequel now, once I pick up the first one. I'm gonna throw one more book in here because I don't think that I've talked about it since I've been here. But I also have a new release that came out this year, which is Lost in the Neverwoods by Aiden Thomas. If you don't know, Aiden Thomas also wrote Cemetery Boys, and I loved that book. And this one says, it's been 5 years since Wendy and her two brothers vanished into the woods near a small coastal town of Oregon. You're so cute. I love you. Wendy returned with no memory of where she had been or what happened to her. When the town's children start to disappear, the mystery around her brothers is brought back into the light, and the police are once again knocking on Wendy's door for answers. Attempting to flee her past, Wendy almost runs over an unconscious boy lying in the middle of the road. Peter, a boy she thought only lived in her stories, asks for Wendy's help to rescue the missing kids. But in order to find them, Wendy must confront what's waiting for her inside the woods. Kind of sounds like a Peter Pan retelling. It sounds really interesting. I don't know if it's a Peter Pan retelling. I just love this cover, and in like the shadows, you have like the outlines of the two boys, so Wendy's brothers. And I just remember really, really enjoying Aiden Thomas's writing style, and I'm very excited to experience another story by them. Okay, I think that's it. That's all that I'm doing. Yeah, some really good titles in here. I hope that you found a book that you are excited to pick up, possibly. But yeah, thank you so much for being here, hanging out with me for a little bit. If you are still watching, then leave the egg emoji down below in the comments, preferably the one that has the cracked egg, you know, like the yolk. If that is one, I think that's one. If it's not, just leave an egg, okay? Avi's trying to tell me that it's time for her to go OUT. Getting very excited now. So, I gotta go. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah, that's it. Bye, thanks. Oh, I have an outro. Be kind to one another and happy reading. Bye.